genuinely cool, affordable, enthusiast cars with marketplace examples. First couple of cars I have here, the Mercedes W124 and 126 generation. For most people, when they think about Mercedes, this is the generation that comes to mind. It's got that iconic Bruno Sacco design. It's boxy, yet it's a bit modern. And I think this generation was what sort of solidified Mercedes as the global top automotive brand in the food chain. Now, these cars range from around $6,000 to $15,000 depending on the condition you want, and maybe a bit more for some really mint SECs of the W126 generation. But whatever it is, back when this was new, these were almost six-figure cars. And if you watch any old Hong Kong film or something of that sort, you're gonna see that the Triad bosses, the Yakuza bosses, they are all rolling up in 126 S-classes. I mean, if you want a badass car that says that I am a classy enthusiast, this is what you're driving. So a couple of examples here. Let's check out this W124 300E. So it's a 1991, the condition's looking great. This price is in Canadian dollars, so it's gonna be cheaper in the US. And if you're wondering why prices for these cars are so low, it's not because they're horrible to own, but they've made so many, in fact around 2.5 million. Most of them are still running to this day. So it's more of a supply issue than anything else. There's just too many of them. I've had a friend who owned a 124 E-Class in New York, and he's daily driven it for about 2 years and virtually no issues. But beyond that, the 126s, they are generally going to be a bit more expensive, and this is like the luxury S-Class. But if you want something a bit more sporty within this generation, the 190E is always a good option. My friend recently bought one in Virginia. He's been loving it. It's got a dogleg gearbox, so do not go into reverse if you are shifting. Moving on, keeping with a similar theme, and if you want something a bit newer, I think this is something you really want to keep an eye on. The Lexus LS/GS generations. This was basically Japan's answer to what Mercedes was doing. They were tired, just having cheap econo boxes, and thought that, you know what, we're gonna come to North America with a bang, and this was their response. Unbelievably good cars. The V8 powertrain on this is smooth as butter, so if you're a guy who does long cruises, I don't think there's a better option than this. Definitely a bit more modern. We've come into the 2000s now. I have another friend who owns a 2004 Lexus LS in New York, and he absolutely loves it. And this is a guy, mind you, who also owns stuff like a Porsche 718, but he finds himself driving this because it's such a smooth experience. So this is a good marketplace example over here. It's about $8,000. Definitely, I think maybe needs a bit of TLC. It is a bit of high mileage, which I'm not really surprised because this is what these cars were meant to do. He's got additional wheels, maintenance all up to date, no rust, which is a very bold claim over here in Canada, so worth checking out. Overall, it's an amazing car. However, if you think that, you want something a bit more sporty, go get yourself a GS300, or also known as a Toyota Aristo. Those are now legal and over 25 years old. It is similar, a bit less luxury, but these come with the 2JZ engine. Now, if at any point in your life someone tells you that, oh, I know what I have a 2JZ Supra, and they're trying to upsell it to you, always remind them Toyota and Lexus have almost 30 cars using a 2JZ, so it's not as special as you think. But yeah, the GS300, an absolutely lovely car. My friend has one. Check this out over here. It's got a lovely Vertex body kit. So wanna be a bit of a tuner, it's a lovely car to break into that market with. There is a bit of 25-year import tax on these now. Price range is probably gonna be around like 10 to 12,000 USD for a half decent one. But it's a lot of potential, a lot of fun you can have with this, and definitely a car that your family will approve. Let's move on to some sports car options. Now, the first car I have here is one I think it's being overlooked quite a bit, and in many ways is the perfect starter sports car for anyone trying to break into the enthusiast market, and that is the E87 1 Series. Now, I know a lot of people are a bit iffy about BMWs from the late 2000s, even early 2010s. In my opinion, the 130i, which has a 3-liter inline 6, which makes about 230 horsepower if I'm not wrong. I think it's the perfect recipe. It's tossable, it's fun to drive, and you get a manual. I don't know what more you want. This is what the BMW E30 was way back in the day. Clean ones for those are now like 25,000 US dollars. So they've become quite out of reach. This is basically that platform, but modern, faster, and better. Take a look at this one over here, 13,500 Canadian dollars. It's a 128i. It's ideally one of the ones you want. It's got a manual transmission, 135,000 kilometers, which is not bad. You get winter tires. He's got a lowering kit on it. So definitely a lot of work done. A very decent condition one. If you're not looking for something like a BRZ or GT86 and you want something European, generally reliable, you can go to BMW forums and they'll tell you exactly what to do. This is the one to have. It's a solid, decent car and a lovely beginner edition for enthusiasts. Next up is one of my personal favorite cars. This car is so ubiquitous. It is so in your face. I am surprised how in North America, people haven't fully waken up to this. There has been some hype coming into it as of late, but I'm yet to see anyone truly unlock its full potential like they do in countries like Japan and Thailand. The car in question is the Honda Fit. Yes, that's right. It is the Honda Fit. Now, before you come at me saying, oh, what is this horrendous Japanese econo box that you're throwing at us, I think you guys want to check out exactly what you can do with this car. There's so many of them. They're like a dime a dozen. You can get one from around $2,000 all the way to like $8,000 in pretty good, robust condition. That is how much this varies. And the aftermarket for this beggars belief. I mean, you have Spoon, HKS, all these big tuning houses with ready-made parts. If you want to know what this car can exactly do, just go and check out the Malaysian and Philippines car scene. I was gonna say Thailand, but those two car scenes go even crazier with the Honda Fit. And they love their Honda Fits for some reason. I'm talking about K20 swaps, individual throttle bodies, a bunch of aero, roll cages stripped out, the whole 9 yards. And these are demons on twisty roads. In many ways, just like how I talked about how the E87 is a new E30, this is exactly what EG and EK Civic hatches were. Clean ones for those are really hard to come by and they're pretty expensive. So this is that modern equivalent of this, an unbelievably good platform, something your whole family will love. They're gonna think like, oh my god, he got a Honda Fit. I'm not really worried about that. Mom and dad, they're gonna fully support this. But what they don't know is that they have just given their child the keys to one of the best project cars money can buy in the modern day. So moving on to some off-roaders. I know the off-roading community has been growing a lot as of late. There are a bunch of options you can buy right now, but the one I want to focus on is what is sold in North America as the Lexus GX, or better known as the Toyota Prado. Now, Land Cruisers, we know they've been appreciating in value a lot. A lot of people have been getting their claws on it. It's sort of becoming harder and harder to come by. But the Lexus GX, or the Toyota Prado as it's known, is sort of the same thing, but a bit less extreme. So you can get really clean ones like this, 18,000 Canadian dollars. Absolutely has the whole 9 yards. Leather interior, navigation, adjustable seats, 7-seater mind you, banging sound system. This is a car to be in. This is also an absolute demon off-road. I mean, just check out some of these builds over here. This is a car I think that was added in Forza Horizon 5 or Forza Horizon 4, not sure. But it's also a car that a very famous YouTube channel known as Big Time actually have as their daily driver. So this for off-roading is a lovely platform and one that's getting a bit less attention than Land Cruisers, and one you might want to scoop up if you're trying to break into that market. But this isn't the only off-roader I want to talk about. There is another one which I think is more of a unique buy, and that is the Mitsubishi Pajero, or Montero as it's known in North America. If you want to think about importing a cool off-roader from overseas, I think older generation Pajeros, especially from the late 90s and 2000s, is the one to go. Of course, there's the iconic Pajero Evo that won the Dakar Rally, but those are now becoming collector status. But the other ones, they're not bad either. Mitsubishi is one of the most successful brands in the Dakar Rally, and the Pajero is the car that they use to win those titles. So if you want to stand out from the crowd a bit, definitely look into these. Not a heck of a lot of an issue to own. I know back home in Bangladesh, where I'm from, people really don't care about their cars, but they have old Pajeros running like it is no issue. Moving swiftly on, one of the last cars I want to talk about is something American. I think a lot of these lists lack some American muscle. The one I want to talk about is one that hasn't really been appreciated too much, and I think sort of slipped away. It's got a 6.1 liter Hemi V8 and is one of the poster childs for what is old for bling rich, and that is the Dodge Magnum SRT8. Now I'm gonna concede, good conditions for these are probably gonna be a bit harder to find, and you're better off finding it in the US if you want a wagon. And I'm gonna admit, I have a bias for really fast wagons. This is one of the cars to get. Just imagine you have one of the best V8s coming out of America in a car you can take your wife and kids with for a family vacation. Absolutely absurd vehicle. I remember playing Midnight Club 3, and this is one of the cars that you could win from events, and oh man, I was in love with it. Pulling up with one of these, you're gonna stand out without a doubt. I don't even know if I've seen one on the road since 2006. I mean, that is how rare these have become. So if you can find one, if you can buy one, it is 100% something to look out for. Well, that concludes my list of some of the cool, affordable, enthusiast cars that you guys can buy today. I know there's a lot more which I didn't feel like including because I think I've been overdone a lot, but if you want more of these videos, make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know if you agree or disagree with my cars, or if you think some other cars which have slipped under the radar should be on the list. My name is Sam Synced. You are watching Unsynced, and I have been blinded by my two lights.